An image that lasts longer than 5 seconds is rare in today's mall movies. It's almost as if there were no confidence in the image. Quantity, not quality, makes right. Luckily, the great French filmmaker Agnès Varda has always disagreed. She began as a photographer, made her mark as a feature filmmaker, and now leads the digital revolution in documentary. Her new film, Ciné Varda Photo, offers a trilogy of short films drawn from 3 periods spanning over 40 years. The godmother of the French New Wave, as some people call her, visits with Canape.
It came naturally to my mind when I finished Il Dessin de Bears, which is a documentary I achieved in 2004, that I made in a way by chance because I bumped into that exhibition in Munich, Germany. And I was so amazed that a collection of photos could bring so much thoughts and so much things around, building, loading the subject. When I finished it, obviously it was too short to show in a theater. So I thought, oh, what can I do? And then it came to my mind clearly that I've made in '62 a film with photos, animated, my own photos. That I made in '82 a film about a photo I took in '54. So it brings me like 50 years ago. And I thought, hey, my God, it should mean that for 50 years I'm interested in the relationship between cinema and photography, or my own cinema with my own photographies. Or I would even say, is it about time to discuss how do we relate with images? You know, we are bombed with images all over, not only news and films and advertising and the papers. So we are not even sometimes discussing what we see. So it's like arrêt sur l'image, you know, like stop and say, hey, what are we looking at and how are we committed to what we see? How do we load with our own meaning what we see? Because an image only represents. So at what point from representation to understanding or emotion, not only to speak about the news that, you know, I mean, bringing so much incredible, unbearable images that we just see and forget, or not forget. Now, when you calm down and you take like one photo, which I did in the second film, Ulysses, a photo I took in '54, that I had in mind to make a composition, let's say. I made it the way I felt at the time. You know, artists, we do things, we don't discuss what we do. I'd found that dead goat, had the little boy I liked so much, naked. I asked the man I was with to be naked, look at the ocean. Okay, this is an image, let's say a composition, imaginary composition. But then 30 years after, or 28 years after, I questioned the image. I said, why did I do it? When was that? And I started to investigate. I had to work like a documentarist, like somebody hired to make research. I found out it was the day after Dien Bien Phu, which was a very important battle. It was the beginning of decolonization, that I had not connected with the photo. So I looked at that, I tried to get my memory together. I met the man again, I met the child again, the mother of the child. And I built like a very serious, documented explanation of the photo. That experience was very important. And I started to think that if we took the time, if we could take the time sometimes to just go with one image of our family, of something, of the news, of just investigate how do we react to that, very interesting. The third one, Le Cubain, that's interesting because this is history again. You understand that Cuba in '62 was not what Cuba is now. But I was there. I was part of all the people in those years who thought that was something happening there. Very interesting, very revolutionary. It was socialism and cha-cha-cha, you know, we could go with it because it was joyful and energetic. So I made all these images in photo and reanimated them with the music, the Cuban music that we love so much, and I'd studied more or less from where it was coming. So I had a good reason to take all these 3 films together. And the minute I put them together and they were shown, and I've been invited to many festivals, and now here I was at the MoMA presenting the film, And thanks to the MoMA, I must say, the Film Forum, Karen Cooper and the crew there decided to show it for 2 weeks. So we are opening at the Film Forum a film with no story. It's not really a documentary. It's more an essay again about what do we do with photo, especially the first film, Idessa the Bears, that incredible woman of Toronto who has been collecting, you know, thousands and thousands of photos with a teddy bear.
I've created a fantasy world with my exhibition of a world in which everybody had a teddy bear.
She was a collector, she became the curator, and she made a special exhibition in which she tried to manipulate the visitor. So I overdid that, you know. I manipulate the way she manipulated us.
The Teddy Bear Show is not a theme show. It takes the notion of theme, turns it upside down and inside out.
And I made her like a mise en scène. So I found the whole thing very interesting. And I'm always wondering, will people come? Is there any interest for a film which is more about thinking? I mean, images and thoughts, that's all there is. Finally, Cinevada Photo is about photo, is about cinema, is about me.
What comes from France, Australia, Madagascar, and the Mediterranean? What sounds like Parisian cabaret, gypsy jazz, big band swing, cocktail music, and various Latin styles? One group answers it all, Paris Combo. Celebrating a decade of high-energy music making, the group is back with their fourth recording, Motifs. 14 numbers, keeping the toes tapping and the body swaying to a very contemporary, and need it be said, multiculti French sound. It's what Piaf and Montand would be doing today. Canape drops in for a video jam with the group.
Paris Combo, it's a group of chansons françaises, but we have a lot of inspirations, and we are 5 musicians, and all these 5 we have a different, not different tastes, but different influence, very important, but different. And in our music, we try to mix all this influence or inspiration.
Well, for myself, I play jungle music, jungle arena music. That's my background music. Yeah.
I played a little bit of jazz and Latin music in Paris, and that's it, among other styles.
And I come from the jazz, and I like very much funk music, soul music, and all that kind of black music, and electro music. Jazz is an important part of what we do, and that is also a kind of a musical language which enables to mix different things together and make different musical marriages. And as Belle said, also all the songs are in French. We play music in French.
Do, dans les situations plus complexes, qu'elles soient concaves ou bien convexes. De tout tracas, je me dévie en lançant ma main là-bas. Si j'y suis pas, je suis sûre de mon cas, que toi aussi je serai là-bas. Et tant pis si ça vexe, pas si ça me trop complexe. On faudra être très nombreux pour me coincer sérieux.
We made a tour before recording this album, a little tour that made us more comfortable with the songs and make them live and see how the public would respond, so we could record more live in studio.
And when the song got this life with the public, and after going in the studio, it's important. And what's important too, it's we are all composers in Paris Combo, and I write all the lyrics, and we have to mix the music and lyrics together, and it's.
It has to gel. So when you play it in public, things go a lot faster. It makes you develop the music more quickly. And just having all those ears listening to the music, it helps to find how each song should be performed.
Merci beaucoup, mais voyez-vous, je viens d'emménager dans cet appartement où je vis seul, tout simplement. Dans ce même moment, j'ai pensé.
The glory of Coca-Cola is that from Boston to Beijing, from Los Angeles to Luanda, it always tastes the same. That's not the idea with wine. The glory is the difference. The best palates can track a kilometer's difference in Bordeaux, much less a continent's difference from California to Australia or from Spain to Argentina. Is globalization turning it all into the same grape juice with a kick? Jonathan Nossiter's new documentary, Mondovino, globetrots to ask the question of winemakers, critics, and drinkers. Does the state of wine give us a taste of who we are now? Director Nossiter pours an answer for Canape.
La petite chose qui sort, c'est tout petit, hein. On les confond avec les grains de raisin.
Un vin pute, il vient tout de suite à vous. Parce que c'est vrai qu'il y a des vins qui bluffent.
Car le vin qui bluffe,
ce sont des vins qui vous en foutent plein la gueule dès le départ, donc qui sont tout en rondeur, et puis qui vous lâchent d'un seul coup.
qui lâche tac, ça tombe.
Ce sont des vins traîtres, en fait.
You know, the film is really the tale of resistance and collaboration. You know, and I think that the model of Vichy in 1940 is sort of applicable. I think that we're on the cusp of an incredibly dark time. I think that between Berlusconi, Bush, Putin, soon in France with Sarkozy, that the entire Western world is moving towards a kind of crypto-totalitarianism. This expresses itself in politics, it expresses itself in cinema, and it expresses itself in wine. Increasingly, because of monopolies of production, distribution, and exhibition, in cinema, like in wine, like in other things, we're actually getting less choice, and we're being lied to institutionally by the forces of marketing.
Le vin est mort. Soyons clairs, le vin est mort. Il n'y a pas que le vin, il y a les fromages, hein. Il y a les fruits.
Through the globalization, if you will, of wine growing and the communication of what's going on in the new world and the old world, There's a renaissance going on right now in Bordeaux.
Ça marque. Mais vous savez, ces journalistes, si on leur donne pas des choses qui marquent, ils retiennent rien.
For the last 20 years, and it's not a question of one person, and I don't believe in evil conspiracies, but I think that there are passive collaborations and forms of collusion which occur to shift taste, and I think that you know, we've seen it in cinema. Reagan opens the doors for the infantilization of taste. Let's no longer look at the ambiguity of things. Let's no longer look at human fault and frailty as a noble quality. Let's say there are good people and bad people. There's the evil empire, right? So what happens in Hollywood? You went from the Hollywood glory era of the 70s to the notion that doing simplified films with massive campaigns of marketing, which is the great fascism of our time. You simplify the storyline. You make people good and bad. You bring in special effects to pound your head so that you're not able to think about how actually incredibly unmoving this is. You bring in massive music and special effects together to brainwash you. Exactly the same thing has happened in the world of wine. By massively oaking the wine, you bring this flavor of vanilla. You give it a kind of spurious smoothness. I mean, new oak is like special effects in wine. New oak in and of itself is not evil, no more than special effects are. It's the cynical and systematic use to cover up the lack of soul. So you simplify the taste. You make it sweet and round and easy. The closer it becomes to Coca-Cola, the better.
Moi, j'aime les vins qui se dégustent en longueur. Soit il est comme ça, il se déguste en largeur, il vous bluffe. C'est les vins modernes. Après, vous le goûtez 3 minutes après, vous dites oui, c'est pas mal. Le bon sens, c'est un peu court.
I think the great danger in the world of wine, like the danger in the world of cinema and politics, is precisely the will to simplify things. So, you know, and the film, in fact, I think is maybe it's a kind of comic look at the human costs of globalization through the prism of the wine world.
De toute façon, le but, il est très simple, c'est toujours de faire mieux. Il n'y a pas de question à se poser. Si ça ne doit pas faire mieux, on ne fait pas.
Oui, mais pas tout le monde a les mêmes idées sur ce qui fait mieux un vin, n'est-ce pas?
Bien sûr, c'est ce qui fait la diversité. C'est pour ça qu'il y en a autant de mauvais, d'ailleurs.
I've been making films for 20 years. You know, usually I make fiction films. I've made some documentaries. To me, the joy of this film is that, to me, it's a love letter to the spectacular resistance that exists in the world of wine, from Argentina to Burgundy, from Italy to Brooklyn. One of the great heroes of the film grew up drinking milk and, you know, is an importer in Brooklyn. It's to see that the human instinct, despite these darkening clouds, is actually to say, yeah, hey, we're different.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que le grand vin? 90% de transpiration et 10% d'inspiration. Avant tout, c'est de la rigueur, le grand vin.
Tu vas pas les bluffer, ceux-là, quand même. Hein?
The movement known as the New Novel, le Nouveau Roman, as the French say, first appeared on the scene in France 50 years ago. How nouveau can these works be half a century later? Can a literary work retain its revolutionary spirit as its reception reaches middle age? The novels of Michel Butor are a good place to look for the answers. In his Degrees, a high school teacher begins an obsessive quest to record in complete detail his own life and that of his students and his colleagues. Of course, it's an impossible task. And there lies the story. Butor's brilliant translator Richard Howard chats with Canape about the adventure of the French novel.
This is his fourth novel, and there is a continuous effort in the first three to what I call totalize. He wants to, there is an effort toward a complete, not just representation, but fulfillment of experience, just entire. And this is the last novel that one might call in any way a conventional novel, even though it is hardly conventional, but in which there is an effort to present human experience entire on the part, and it's the young man who is the teacher, Pierre Vernier, has this impulse. He wants to do it for his nephew, and that is really part of the understanding of the novel, is that there is an intelligence, a sensibility, an effort on the part of one individual to make some representation of the totality of intellectual and cultural experience for another person. And it is a failure. It is what we call an aporia, which means it is a confession of failure. And the book begins with a class of 15-year-old boys, and it radiates out from the things that they study, history, literature, and the novel ends with poor Pierre Vernier exhausted by his effort, and a number of people, Vernier's mistress, his colleague, his brother-in-law, gathering around his deathbed, as it were. And I think the last thing he says, it's a very Samuel Beckett kind of thing. He says, "Who is speaking? Qui parle?" And that's the last word of the novel. And in a sense, that is the problem, when one doesn't really know who is speaking. And this is a book which is a sort of study of the responsibilities of knowledge, of inclusiveness, of totality or totalizing experience. And it is a very passionate and emotional novel. It's the most emotional of all Butor's books. I've always liked to tell my students and friends about him by saying that he is in literature what Pierre Boulez is in music, and he does certain things technically that Boulez is interested in doing in music, especially compositionally. And he's interested in the same questions of how you put something together. What are the possibilities of composition? And that's more or less what I was confronted with as the translator of this book, and it was hard. It was a very, very difficult undertaking, which I thoroughly enjoyed from beginning to end.
The snowbirds may be in the south in February, but the smart folks head north. Quebec City turns itself into a winter playground for toddlers to grandparents during its famous Carnaval. Parades, games, sports, arts, and more fill the calendar. Afraid of the cold? A response is fast from this friendly French-speaking World Heritage city. Le Carnaval s'enflamme. The carnival is firing up. There's no one better to explain it all than everyone's favorite bilingual snowman, Bonhomme, whose fame in Quebec rivals that of Celine Dion.
So, I'm the king of the festival. I'm not a young man, you know. I'm there from the beginning, since the beginning of my great carnival. During the winter, Quebec City is fired up. It's the greatest winter carnival in the world. It's not a small thing.
Salut bonhomme, salut bonhomme, salut le bonhomme carnaval. Comme le tourner comme une pomme dans mon melon monumental. Salut bonhomme, salut bonhomme.
You know, you have a lot of activities all outside. You have canoe courses, you have horse riding, all around. It's happiness and joy. What I like about the whole Quebec City is the warmth of the people. You know, every Saturday, every Sunday, there's a lot of people walking, dancing, and with all the history of my city. It's a great idea to come here to bring your joy and happiness with the Quebecers and the French people.
Carnaval de Québec, c'est pour tout le monde. C'est notre